Another issue, of course, coming onto your plate in the next few weeks when Parliament comes back will be the carbon pollution reduction bill, due to come back before the Parliament again in August. Your frontbencher Andrew Robb told this program on Friday that after 5 days in China, he was more convinced than ever that Australia shouldn't be passing this legislation before the Copenhagen summit. Does that mean you'll not be negotiating with the government on this legislation at all? You're just going to pose no amendments to it, just vote against it?
Well, Fran, we are looking very closely at this issue right now. We've commissioned some work by Frontier Economics on the cost of various alternatives and various amendments, if you like, to the scheme. We're looking at this very, very closely. I mean, plainly, what Mr Rudd wants us to do is to reject it twice in the statutory period or the constitutional period so that he can go to an early election.
So what you're suggesting is that you might not necessarily accommodate that. You might be putting up some amendments of your own. You might be having a red hot go at trying to get this legislation through.
Fran, if I was the Prime Minister, I would not, and I am very committed to Australia taking effective action against climate change. Very, very committed. And I was when I was in government. In fact, the first legislation for an emissions trading scheme was introduced into the House of Representatives by me as Environment Minister. If I was Prime Minister, I would not be finalising the design of this scheme prior to the Copenhagen summit, because I think we need to know what the rest of the world is going to do. It's vital that we're part of an effective global solution. We also need to know what the US legislation finally looks like. I mean, we've got a bill that's gone through the House, of the House of Representatives of the Congress, but not through the Senate. So there are powerful arguments for finalising this in February, March next year. That's what I would do if I was Prime Minister, and you lose nothing by doing so. But Mr Rudd is forcing the pace. And what a lot of people, particularly in the industries that have got thousands of jobs at risk here, are saying to us is that, all the members of the Business Council of Australia that we met with in Canberra recently were making this very important point to us. What they're saying is we should, even though the government is not proceeding as prudently as they should in terms of timing, we should nonetheless seek to make this law better so that it is more environmentally effective and less economically damaging.
So it sounds like you're considering voting for this bill sometime either August or November if you can get some changes through.
Well, Fran, it depends on what the changes are, but there is an overwhelming consensus in the business community. And of course, these are the people whose businesses have the thousands of employees' jobs which are at stake. There's an overwhelming consensus that that the law should be changed, and we should seek to advance and promote those changes. You see, the tragedy of Mr Rudd's law, Fran, is that it provides much less incentive for reducing emissions, because it eliminates a lot of the green carbon opportunities that I've spoken about in the past, and provides much less protection for jobs than the American bill does. So we have the absurd situation where a small economy like Australia is going to provide less protection for jobs than Barack Obama's world's largest economy is going to provide for American jobs.
Can I just ask you finally, because you have been having a bit of a rough go in the polls lately, and the latest news poll shows there are actually two members in your party room who are twice as popular as you are as preferred Prime Minister. Why don't the voters seem to like you?
Well, Fran, you should speak to the voters. Look, I'm not here to do self-analysis. That's up to you.
Malcolm Turnbull, thanks very much for joining us. Opposition Leader Malcolm Turnbull in our Sydney studio.